All right, guys, how you guys doing? Deneng here. So if you guys have any questions and you know how this works, over on the right, you will see a little chat box, and
All right, guys, how you guys doing?
you can, sorry about that, hold on. You can just type in your questions on the right, okay? Basically, this webinar is going to be a really simple webinar. But a lot of people have been asking me about, doing some training on how to start trading. And so I figure, I'll do this live. I'll also go ahead and get it recorded and make it available for any new person that comes in and wants to learn how to trade. So first off, I just want to let you guys know that I'm also a beginner trader. I've only been trading since April of this year. Before that, I had no idea what forex even was. I mean, well, I knew that it stood for the foreign exchange thing, but I didn't know how to trade, or I didn't know any of the terminology, such as like what's a pip and and all this stuff. So but by doing studying and also practicing, I've actually been able to do pretty good for myself. Right now, I'm averaging anywhere from 80 to 85% in my win rates, and my minimum, my pip go per day is only 50 pips per day, and that's not a whole lot of pips, but that's okay with me because that still pays the bills. So. All right, guys. So I want to thank you guys, those of you who are on this webinar live and taking the time to watch this. And I promise you, this is not going to be a waste of your time. Basically, what I'm going to go over here is I'm going to go over all the things that I have wished somebody taught me when I first started trading and learning how to trade. Okay, so what my goal is to shorten the gap between not knowing anything to being able to place your first trade. And I'm going to try and do all of that within the next hour here. Okay, so Tina, thanks for doing this. Sure, of course, Tina. So let's go ahead and get started. So for some of you guys who's been trading already, just bear with me. Some of the things I'm going to talk about are going to be very, very basic. And I hope you don't get bored. Feel free to leave the webinar at any time. But if you hang on, there's going to be some good things in there too that I think that you'll be able to find useful for your own trading. Okay, but mainly this webinar is really geared towards those just starting out and not knowing anything about how the market works. Okay, so I have my screen share on. And the first thing I want to do is just go over this trade that I sent. This was one of my signals that I sent earlier this morning. So this was the picture that I sent. Basically, for ARCA, it's going up and it's hitting a major resistance area. That's what this red line is, okay? And so that's where my sell zone area is. And so it was up around this area. That's when I sent out the signal for you guys. And so I don't know when you would have caught it, but basically it did this. There was this nice little spike up here trying to take out some stops. But luckily our stop was like way up here. So it didn't even come anywhere close to our stop, okay? So that, and then it started to kind of drop. Now let's go over to what it really looks like right now. This is the actual live graph. And so that was it. It did drop somewhat, okay, and it got kind of close to TP. And we were more than halfway there. And so my rule of thumb is that whenever we're halfway over close to TP, you can either take your profit at that time or just or you need to like lock in some profits, move your stop loss. Instead of up here, you got to move your stop all the way back down here so that if it does come back up, you're not going to lose anything, okay? And for the most part, how you would trade this is that if it does come back up, such as like what it did here, okay, if you didn't take your profit, then it would taking you back up here, made you negative, and I hope you did not move your stop, because if you moved it down here, then it would have taken you out. But I wanted you to move your stop to break even if you don't want to take profit here, because if it comes up here, it'll knock you out, but at least you're not going to lose anything, and then you just kind of watch how it goes, and you can always re-enter up here, okay? And that's actually what I did. It went down here. I didn't take the profit here. I took partial profit right here. And then it went up, it hit my stop. So basically I broke even there, but I watched as it moved up to this area right here. I sold again. And as it came back down here to around this area right here, that's when I signaled that I'm gonna close this, this trade out. Because this is a downtrend, then and because it's a downtrend, and I'll show you how I find that out. It's you know, you look at the 4-hour chart, and you can see that this is a downtrend. So for the most part, it's going to come back up, but it's going to come back down. There's a heavy push down here, okay? And so for anybody that's still holding on, there's a good chance that it's still going to go back down to TP area. But I'm not the type of trader where I like to sit and watch trades too long. Typically, you know, I'll start looking for ways to close out a trade if it's been running for more than 10 hours. So, but for this case, I'm happy with the profit I took here and also the profit I took here. So good to go. I closed this one out already, okay? All right, so the first steps to trading on your own. We'll go step by step, okay? Let me go ahead and read some of the notes real quick here. All right. Okay. All right, so we're good to go. All right. So let me see, how am I gonna do this? Okay, so first off, I'll probably do another different training on MT4, but the graphing I'm going to show is going to be on TradingView. And as a matter of fact, with MT4, I want to direct your guys' attention to YouTube. You can always YouTube a video that will show you how to chart, how to graph, or like how to use MT4, or even how to use TradingView here, okay? But basically, TradingView is a free software, a charting software. It's web-based. You can go to just tradingview.com right here, okay? Sign up for a free account. With the free account, you can do pretty much anything that any other accounts can. And they do have some paid versions where there's a couple more added features, but starting off, you really don't need to pay for anything. You can just use the free version here, okay? And so, so this is your graph right here, okay? And you can change the background, you can change the colors however you like, okay? You can take off these indicators, and you could add new indicators if you want. But let me show you real quickly how to fix the chart. You right click, and then you just go down to where it says properties, okay? When you get to properties, this is how I have mine set. The background, if you don't like that black background, you could change it, okay, to making it look like that. Green, blue, gray, purple, anything you want, okay? And you could also change like the style, like the candles and stuff. If you don't like the green, maybe you like the blue, right? Change that wick to blue also. And then that's what it'll look like. But I'm gonna keep my olive graph green. Okay, so that's that. Now to add indicators, you will see right up here, indicators. And you could put in whatever indicator you want. You could even go and search right up here, okay? And now, as you notice, this is on the 15-minute chart, okay? Let me explain what all this is. Basically, when it's at a 15-minute chart, every candle that you see here represents 15 minutes, okay? 15 minutes closed here as a bearish candle, 15 minutes closed here, 15 minutes closed there, 15 minutes closed here as a bullish candle, okay? And then same thing, let's go to 1 hour. Now this is what the 1 hour chart looks like, and each candle represents 1 hour. We go to the 4 hour chart. Again, each candle represents 4 hours of time that have passed. And the day chart, each candle represents 1 day. And so, you know, for this week right here, this was like a down bearish week right here. Look at all these big bearish day candles, okay? And so what do we know about this pair? Okay, so it is a downtrend. So let me just write some things down here. I'm just gonna put important. Okay, only a few things. You got to identify trend, know support and resistance. And that's it, pretty much. Okay. So these two things, okay, once when you understand these two things, then you can trade on your own, perhaps even with confidence. If you really work on identifying trend, knowing your support and resistance areas, and then taking your trade off of the 15-minute chart. Okay, so here's identifying trend. So to identify the trend, you always want to use day chart and 4 hour chart. Okay, and the reason why that is because you want to see the overview, the overall market of where it's moving. Okay, so for instance, this right here, we are talking about a 4 trillion per day market that's pushing down really hard on the day chart. Okay, would I ever buy on this? Probably you know, just using logic tells me that maybe I'd be smart if I was to sell this instead of buying. Okay, so there are areas where it can hit, where such as like what I would call a extreme support resistance area, such as this right here. This is reaching some type of extreme resistance, support area. Okay, and the reason why this is important is because you see the touch right here, bounced up, touch right here, bounce up, touch right here, bounced up, touch right here, bounce up, touch here, bounce up, kind of almost touch, but kind of close in the area. So what do you think is going to happen when it touches here again, right? For the most part, it's going to bounce up, and as a matter of fact, it did. So if you notice, it bounced back up, but again, because this is pushing heavily down, it's not just going to bounce one time. Basically, it's going to bounce up, hit the other resistance. You notice how this area right here, it used to be a support area, but if price gets past it, it now becomes a resistance area. Okay, so for the most part, if price hits up here, then it's gonna come back down. Okay, and that's why we chose to that's why I chose to do the sell on this. And so far, basically, that was how it looked. Okay, we did a sell, price kind of moved around here, moved here. I'm thinking it'll come through back down here, through our TP area here, and probably hit back down here before it starts to go back up again, okay? But again, because this is a downtrend, then I'm safer if I was to sell it with this trend, okay? Does that make sense? Unless if it bounced on this major area, which is support area from the day chart, and that's very strong when it's a support resistance area from the day chart. Then I would place my buy order down here somewhere if I see it coming back up. Okay, but you gotta just understand those things. Okay, so how do you structure this? Okay. Let me tell you guys something. When I first started trading, this is what a lot of people do, and this is what I did when I first started, okay? Let's say I want to trade EUR USD, right? I'll go over to it like this, and I'll look at this chart, and I'll think to myself, okay, which way is it going to go? All right, it's going up here. Maybe I might break this and keep on going straight up, right? So in a way, you're kind of just guessing, thinking where price is gonna go, and then you place a sell order or a buy order here, okay? And that's how I thought that you trade. But really, trading, guys, is actually very simple. When you're trading, it's more of preparation than just jumping on and trying to find a trade, okay? You would have already prepared your trade ahead of time before it even happens. So how do you do that? Basically, you hop on this little graph right here, okay? And you go through as many pairs as you want to focus on, okay? I focus on 28 pairs. You don't have to do that. You could just focus on maybe 5 pairs at first if you want, or you could look at 10 pairs. But and it doesn't take a lot of time, and I'll show you what to do. But basically, this is what you do, okay? So I have it saved, and let's say I've been graphing this out and I want to save it. You can actually go right here, just click on save, and then you'll be saving that graph the way that it is, okay? But if I go over to one of my things, I call it daily set 1 for this one, because again, I look at 28 pairs. So if we look at this is categorized in like, there's 8 pairs on this. We got the EU, we got the Australian Canadian dollar, we got the Aussie yen, Aussie New Zealand dollar, Aussie US dollar, Canadian yen, got the euro, Aussie, got the euro GBP, okay? And so we can look at this, and if we take a look at that Australian dollar, the one that I was just talking about earlier, these are all day charts, okay? And this gives me a bird's eye view of where price is headed for the whole week. I don't have to keep on doing this. This is what I set up to monitor for the whole week. And you don't even have to take a lot of time, because these are all day chart candles. So you don't really want to care about what price is doing right here. You only care when it reaches your levels, such as this one right here, the Aussie Canadian dollar right here. Okay. So this tells me that I should pay attention to this. If it hits back down here again, then I'm buying. Okay. And then same thing with this one right here. Looks like it is right up there. Aussie yen is right up there with some nice heavy resistance areas right here. You notice how price went up, bounced back down, went up, bounced back down, went up, bounced back down, went up, bounced back down. This tells me that this is going to be an area where price is going to hit and come back down just like it's done in the past. Okay. And so these are some of the extreme levels. Okay. We're not talking about like small support and resistance. These are like more of the stronger support resistance areas that you can trade along with, okay? So I always talk about trading with the trend, But there is an exception to trading against the trend. And the exceptions are when it's hitting these areas, okay? For instance, this right here is a heavy uptrend, but only to this part right here. When it gets to this part right here, then you don't want to look at to buying anymore, okay? It might fall back down, and if it falls back down to like maybe this, if it falls back down to, oops, sorry, to this area right here, if it falls back down to this area right here, then I would consider a buy, okay? But otherwise, right now, it might be looking for a sell on this, okay? All right, so all you have to do is do this. And the way that you do that is you go up here, okay? And then you just click that. And once when you click this, it's gonna give you 8 things here. So let me see if I could just start a new one. Okay, so let's say this is ERU USD and I want to put this there. I can go right here, click on the big last one, or I could even just do 6 if I just want to focus on 6, right? And so all these become ERU USD, but I can change this one. Let's say I want this one to be GBP JPY. Now this becomes GBP JPY, okay? And then it's real simple. I want to start marking these off. And so this is the day chart. And right now, price is right at an area of resistance. So you want to go right here and, oops, need to remove that horizontal line. That area. And I'm also interested in this area right here. Okay, these are the 2 extreme support resistance areas. Okay, and then let's say this one we could do Euro JPY. Let's move this out. This one is the same thing. Looks like it's right up there in this area right here. Okay. And you know what? If sometimes if you're late to a trade, you know, don't think that you have to like hurry up and catch it. You know, trades and trade setups happen all the time. So if you see something and it's already happening, then you know, and the trade's already taking off, then just move on and find a different trade. Okay. So first you map these things out like this, and you don't have to stare at it all day long. What I do is I just set an alert. Okay. So for instance, this one right here, I can move it up just a little bit right here. So I know that, okay, if it hits up here, I'm going to look to possibly sell. Or if it hits down here, then I'm looking for a buy. You see this area right here? There's a touch right here and it moved up. There's also a touch right here, moved down. So this little area right here becomes a nice little support area, okay? So if a price happens to fall back down here, because this is a uptrend, then I will be looking for a buy right in this area, okay? And you could even draw little rectangles to mark your spot or your buy zone and stuff right here. So where I'm looking to buy. Okay. All right. So, and then to set the alert, basically what you want to do is just right click right on the line. It'll say add alert, and that's what it's adding. And you could put your own little note. A chart resistance look to sell. Okay, and then for this one right here, I could set an alert for that too. And I'll say hitting day chart support, look to buy. So there, I can go about my day, and when I get alerted on my phone, which will beep like a text message, I'll take a look at it and I'll say, oh, okay, so price is down here now, okay? So I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, this is uptrend, and then I'll go to the 15-minute chart, and then I'll look for where to place my entry, okay? So that's how you trade, guys. Pretty simple, and you already have this. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that when you're placing your trade, the other thing that's very important is you gotta use risk management and know how much you are risking for each trade. So, for example, let me see here. For example, let me see. I guess we could use this one. So for example, let's say for ERU USD here, I place a sell order right here, okay? Because I believe that it's gonna drop, right? And it's gonna drop there. Maybe I place my stop right here, okay? So that's my sell, and this is my stop, and then this is my take profit, okay? So if I set it like this, and you look at this, you say, okay, so how many pips is this? You take this little ruler right here, okay? This ruler is gonna give you the amount of pips. You just hold on to that, drag it down. So this tells me that this is 347 pips, micro pips, so that equals 34 pips, okay? So this tells me that if I place my trade here, and if it hits my TP, I'll make about 34 pips. And I'm willing to lose, let's say, if it went against me, it's right here, and it went against me, okay, I'm willing to lose 32 pips, okay? So if it went up that way, I'll lose 32 pips, or about 33 pips. If it goes my way, I'll win 34 pips, okay? So it's about a 1-to-1 ratio. Sometimes my stops are not necessarily 1-to-1. Sometimes the stop might be a little bit higher up here, okay? It might be like 60 to 1, okay? And it all depends because I set my stops according to how the market moves. For instance, the Euro USD, let's say for the last 20-day average, it moves only about 100 pips. So in that case, then I'll probably set my stops to at least half of that. So it's got to be at least 50 pips or more, okay, for that, because I know that each time it moves, each day on average, it moves at least 100 pips, okay. For some of the GBP pairs, those guys move pretty fast, and they could do anywhere from 125 to even over 200 pips per day, okay. So the daily range for those guys are pretty high. So you want to set a little bit higher stops for those ones. And you also want to set the stops right up above some type of resistance area or some type of support area, so that it doesn't get hit so easily, okay? Because honestly, if you try to set a stop a one-on-one and you just kind of make it up as you go. You're not looking at the way the market moves. You just kind of think, okay, well, if I place a sell here, possibly it might not get up through that area. So I'm just going to push my stop right there. Chances are it's going to get hit more often than not, okay, if you do it that way. You got to give it some room to breathe. And to be more accurate with your stops, you should look at the 20-day average for each pair. And then you set it to a little bit over half of the 20-day average, okay? So again, if EUR USD was moving 100 pips on average, I set it to at least 50 pips on the stop, okay? And it has to be above some type of resistance or support area, okay? So that's how I do the stops. And then, and so that's how you do it. You do this and you use this little thing to measure how many pips you'll get. And then again, so let's say the stop is up here. What I was trying to get at is showing you how to calculate your risk. So now let's say the stop is at 47 pips, okay? So 47 pips, but you only want to risk, let's say 5% of your account. So let's say if your account is $1,000, you want to risk 5%. 5% of 1,000 is what? That's $50. So I think that's $50. I gotta do quick math. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so it is 50. So basically, what you want to do is doesn't matter where the stop is. If you know that you can only lose 50, then you want to do the math backwards. And so basically, you take the $50 and to go into this trade, 50 divided by, oops, I'm gonna do it this way. All right, sorry guys, my phone froze on me. I'm gonna have to turn it off and turn it back on again. All right, but while we're waiting for this, you guys have any questions? Tina, you asked about when you right click, do you right click on the support resistance line? Yeah, if you are trying to set the alert, then you right click on the support resistance line like this, okay? And then it's the first one where it says add alert if you want to set the alert. Okay? My phone is still coming back up. Give it a minute. No, I believe the free version allows you to set some alerts too, but I think they allow you to set like maybe only 3. Yeah, that's right, Chimay. I have the pro version and it allows me to set like 10 or 15 alerts. I can't remember. but I do use it quite a bit, so that's why I got the pro version. Um, but you don't have to. I mean, you got MT4 too that you can use. Okay, hold on. Almost got it, guys. Okay, so for instance, yeah, so if this is my stop right up here and it's 47 pips and this is my take profit. Now I got to calculate my risk first, okay? So if I'm going to risk 5% of my account and I have $1,000, so I know that, okay, so for this trade, if it goes bad, I'm going to lose $50, okay? That's 5% of your account. So how do you figure out how to, if it moves up here and it's going to be only 50, so how it's going to be only $50. So you got to remember how much, what is the value of the movement per pip. So if it's a 0.10 standard lot, then you know that that's at then you know that that's at 0.10 equals $1 every time it moves, right? And if it moves to 7 pips, then that equals losing $47. Okay. So right around here, 57 pips, which is about $50, you can go at 0.10. Okay. But what if the stop loss was at, let me say the stop is at 100 pips. If it's at 100 pips, then you know you can only do 0.05. That equals 50 cents per pip move. So if you lose 100 pips, you're only losing $50. Okay. So it doesn't matter how far or how big the stop is. You just have to calculate what you are going to risk and then go according to the stop, the lot size that will equal the amount of your risk only. Okay. Um, and then if you, I actually have, I went through this a little bit more in detail on the very first video that you watched, where I go over my trading strategies and stuff. And when you were first introduced to my signals channel, that very first video is the video that I go through this calculation. Okay. But basically, that's what you do. So that's that. And pretty much that's it. There's not much more to trading, guys. You just look for support and resistance area and just trade from there, you know. Let's say for instance, do you guys have anything you want to throw out there and let me take a look and I'll tell you what my analysis would be. Mm, let's look at USD CAD. And if you want to know how to like, if you want to know how to like erase all of your board, thank you, Leo. All you have to do is press on that little trash can on the right, and that'll erase all of your graph that you did on there. Okay. So let's just look at this one for example. Okay. So the first thing I want to do, okay, in order for me to trade this, is I want to look at the full overview of where this market is, what this market is doing. Okay. So what is it doing? This is on the day chart, and we know that, okay, so this is the overview of it. Looks like it's gotten through all these areas. Let's look at the trend. Okay, so what trend do you see right here? I think what you're seeing is an uptrend. Okay, so we see as an uptrend on the day chart. Let's look at 4-hour chart. For our chart shows kind of an uptrend too. It's not really real trendy, okay? Not any big major movements. And quite honestly, guys, during this time of year, Christmas season coming up, there's probably not going to be too much, too many nice movements that you can trade off of. So if you are going to be trading, maybe just focus on short scalps, maybe 20 pips, 30 pips at most. So just kind of in and out of the market, but don't look for any like real big moves. Just because of the fact that a lot of the big players, the hedge fund managers and the big banks, all the big guys that are calling the shots they're probably taking vacations and stuff. And so there's not going to be too many orders that's going to be executing. Okay. And we all know, yeah, us retail people, we don't move the market. It's the big guys that move the market, and you want to be trading when these guys are trading, not trading when they aren't. Okay. All right. So, anyways, so what would I do with this? Okay. So knowing that it's an uptrend, what I want to do is I want to look for a buy. Okay, because you want to trade with the 4-hour and the day chart trend. Okay. So this looks uptrend. Now what I want to do here is I want to look for areas of resistance. I mean support. So areas of support to buy. So there's not much here on the 4-hour. Let me go to the day chart here. Okay, so here's what I see on the day chart. I will mark off this area right here. Okay. This area right here. Okay. Why is that? Well, because there's a touch right here. There's a touch right here. There's some touch, some consolidation of price right in this area here. Okay, broke through there. There's also another touch right here. Okay. And some consolidation right here. So what does this tell me? This tells me that because of this area, so many touches where price reverses, okay, there's a good chance that when price falls down and hits this area, it's going to resume its natural course, which is with the trend going up. Okay, so I would mark this little area right here too. This will be my buy area. Okay. So again, remember, I'm looking at a higher time frame here to pick this out. Okay. So now you got that, and then 4 hours. That's what it looks like. It's getting close to that area. And then if I go over to the 15-minute chart, this is when I look at it to see where I'm going to take my trade, okay? So as a matter of fact, if you look at the 15-minute, it's still some ways down there, okay? So it's got to drop down here first before I will consider a buy. And right now we're looking at about, wow, quite big. It's looking like over 100 pips. Okay, so it probably won't get down there anytime soon, okay? If it does keep on dropping, it'll probably take like another day or so before it gets down here. And if it hits this area, then definitely, you know, I'll look for a buy coming into the 15-minute chart, okay? All right, let me see. So yeah, guys, it's pretty simple, you know? You just have to know trend, identify the trend, know your support and resistance area, where to find those, okay? And again, you want to go with the day chart and also 4-hour chart to find your resistance and support areas, okay? I don't know why day chart is so big now. Okay. All right. Other than that, you know, all these little things up here, you can just play around with it, okay? This just allows you to be able to, you know, draw arrows, draw horizontal line, trend lines, and all that. This is your Fibonacci tool, okay? The only one I really use is the Fibonacci retracement, okay? And Fibonacci has a whole bunch of other stuff, but the Fibonacci retracement is the one that I use, and most people use that one. And then these are like your little drawing, you know, stuff. If you want to do ellipse, rectangle, your brush. This, if you want to text, you write notes. This is your ABC pattern, you know, like for if you're going to do like harmonic patterns and stuff like that. You know, you could play around with that, but basically what you want to do with harmonic patterns is, you know, you take from the lowest point to, I mean, from the highest point to the lowest point, to the second highest and to the lowest, and then there you got your harmonic patterns, okay? And like the distance of this has to be a certain length and a certain width and stuff like that. But there's actually more of this training inside of the IML back office if you want to get more into like harmonic patterns. But there's the tool right there. You could draw and do your own harmonic patterns if you want, okay? And then, you know, all of these things, I hardly use those. These are just arrows zooming in and out. This is your measuring stick, so you can measure from, you know, like one day to another. Like, if I went back to the, let's say I went to the 1-hour chart, let me show you guys something here. Let me just erase this. If you go over to, okay, right click, you click on properties, and you go to time zones, and you put in session breaks, okay? I'm gonna click OK. It's gonna break up that whole session. I'm gonna go to 15 minutes, so it's a little bit easier to see the days here. But basically, all those blue lines is telling me each day, okay? This represents one day, this represents one day, okay? So this really hasn't been moving too much. You see how it's just been kind of consolidating, going sideways here, okay? You can measure each day to see how much it moves by clicking there, just coming down to the bottom. And so it moved about 136 pips on this day, okay? And then let's say for this one right here, that's the high and that's the low right here. This one only moves 76 pips, okay? So you could do this. There's also another website. I totally forgot what it is. I think it's Meta. I think it's metaf.net. I can't remember. Nope, that's not the right website. But there's a website that you can look at to find out uh, the the daily average range, and so so you just got to pay attention to that. Okay, when you're trading and it's hitting a major support resistance area, and it's also overextended, like it's already reached over 100% of its daily average range. That's a good sign for a sell or a buy. Okay. All right. So pretty much that's it, guys. Not too much to it, Identify your trend, know where your support and resistance areas are, and then take your trade at those areas. Okay? Pretty simple. You guys have any questions? We're coming up upon 8 o'clock right now, so if no questions, then I'm going to go ahead and close this out. All right, guys. So glad you guys can make it. If you didn't make it, I am going to try and record this. So those of you who didn't get to see it live, you can just rewatch this, okay? But if you have any questions and stuff, just go ahead and you can just message me on Facebook or something like that anytime, okay? All right, guys. I'm glad to be working with you, and I'll chat with you guys sometime.